this is how you build up a good sense of ego. There are times where it can be overinflated, and that's where you have to check yourself. You got to humble yourself a little bit. You got to start listening, right? You can't be the best all the time, because then there's no room for growth. And then why are you even alive for that point?
About basically being in the trenches and really learning the depths of sales and communication.
That's a huge W. What made you want to get into sales and communication?
Well, primarily, so actually, funny enough, rewinding back to when I was 18. So this is like 2016. I actually started a automotive detailing business. So I've always been interested in business and entrepreneurship. And when I turned 20, I started working, or 19, right around that, I started working for Ford and Kia and also Chevy as a salesperson. And I understood at that point that sales is going to be everything in life. And if you guys probably already know this as well too, but if you study successful people, obviously success leaves clues. We've heard that, right? So
That's facts.
if I'm going to study successful people and see what they're doing, a big majority of these people always say you want to get into sales. And the reason why, it's because it's persuasion. So when you have your own product, you have your own company, you have your own business, or you're looking to develop connections, by learning how to persuade people, essentially sales, then you can pretty much, you're unstoppable. Because you can put me in front of any product, as long as I believe in that product, and even technically speaking, if I don't really believe in it, I could sell it to anybody. So that's the primary reason why I got into sales. And it got to the point where I stopped doing sales for Ford, Kia, and Chevy. They're high-key corrupt. Like, they're screwing a bunch of people over all the time. That just doesn't align with my morals. What ended up happening was I had 2 jobs after that, blah, 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 whatever. I ended up quitting both those jobs and started flipping cars on my own full-time. So then I took a lot of these sales things fully into my own teachings and my own experiences. I would go out and try to buy these different cars. I would buy these different cars, utilize different strategies, push, pull, this and that. And then that kind of transitioned into the real estate space, where now legitimately behind a rural LLC, behind a rural business, I'm utilizing these different sales strategies. So
that's nice.
That's kind of the primary reason why, man.
What are some of the, for car flipping, what are some good strategies? Like, how are you applying some of the, how are you selling, how are you getting them sold?
Dude, this is OP, bro. So I used to make, I challenged myself one time, bro. In 24 hours, I made $1,000 profit. So
what?
Literally, it was like 24 hours and maybe 25 hours. But I mean, for the video, we can just say 24. But nonetheless, it's really, really simple, man. So all you do is, and it's just like anything else. I actually used to flip iPhones in the same exact way when I was 18, 19.
Holy shit, bro. So you've been hustling your whole fucking life, bro. That's crazy.
Dude, I know, it's crazy, man. It's really, really simple. All you gotta do, and it's just like real estate, same shit. All you gotta do is find a product. Let's just say a car. We're on the car example. Let's just say that we find a car and we know that market value for that car is worth $5,000. All we do is we go and search where people are selling cars at, and we try to find that same car that sells for $5,000, and we try to get it for $3,000, $4,000. What we do is that we find these different cars, because people don't know how to post on Craigslist, OfferUp, and Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
They'll take a fucking picture with a Razr flip phone and they'll put like 2 words, for sale or something, you know? So what you do is you just go in, you find these people who don't know how to market themselves properly. You buy you negotiate with them, you buy that car, you take it back to your place.
Yes.
You take it to fucking a drive-through wash, you know, something a little light, $10, $15, vacuum it real good.
Yeah.
Get some armor off for the tires. And then you take really good pictures of it all around. You make a really good description, and then you literally just post it for $5,000.
That's great. That's
or
like
what
the
I
good.
would suggest is you would post it actually for $5,500, and then let people talk you down to $5,000, and you end up getting that profit that you initially wanted. So this is applicable across the board, whether it's with computers, iPhones, whether it's with real estate. It's all the same thing. You find an undervalued product, and then you sell it for market value.
Bro, that was great. That was great advice, man. I actually learned a lot from just that car flipping shit right there, bro. But I also heard Ricky Gutierrez used to teach that, I think, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's a great message, and that works in any situation, right? You agree with that?
100%.
100% agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like how he keeps saying it's simple. It really is simple. You just got to find a way how to do it fast. And that's when you hire people, and that's when you just get better at it, Yeah,
man, 100%. They say, too, the saying goes, money like speed, right? And on top of that, I think what a lot of people do, especially people who are consumers, who just view us on YouTube or view us on Instagram, whatever the case may be, it seems like it's so high out of reach, but they don't realize that all you have to fucking do is just take a little bit of action. It's literally that fucking simple. The people that we see on YouTube, the people that we see doing these high achieving things, there's no difference between us and them. The only difference is mindset and action. That's it. And those are very attainable for anybody.
That's so great, bro, because this entire live stream is all about mindset, bro. How to get rich like a top G. So
Yeah,
I
man.
think you definitely have the mindset behind it. And I was actually watching one of your podcasts, and you were talking about like your purpose, how to find your purpose. And I think one of the greatest things that you guys mentioned on how to find your purpose was you need to be willing to almost die behind the thing that you believe in. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
Like, I think a lot of guys out there, their problem is that they're not willing to truly like fight for what they believe in. They give up so easily. They're like so fragile in that sense. Like
they're afraid to fail pretty much.
Yeah, they're afraid to fail. Like they don't want to fail. And I think that I know that in order to be successful, you have to truly believe in yourself. You need to believe in the product that you're selling. That way you're able to convince somebody else. Because if you don't believe in yourself, like you said, that Chevy shit was unethical, right? I didn't believe in it that much. I'm not gonna make the most amount of money I can selling this product, right?
Yeah, man, 100%. And the thing too is that the reason why people give up is because they don't have that deeper purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you don't have something that you truly have a desire for, when the actual struggles come up, it's going to be much more hard to push through those struggles. But if you have a deeper purpose, like family, maybe a wife, a kids, or for yourself, your own certain lifestyle that you know that you deserve this,
Mm-hmm.
then when trials and tribulations come up, then you therefore utilize that purpose to go beyond that. And the thing is this too, is that no matter what, at the end of the day, you have trials and tribulations are going to be 100% a part of the journey. I think a lot of people think that these people who are successful have it easy. They've never went through any trials and tribulations. So when people start to put their feet into the entrepreneur space, or when they start to do new things, failure comes about, and all of a sudden, fuck, dude, oh man, I have it. They start playing the victim or whatever the case may be. But people need to understand that when you become an entrepreneur, or when you pave a new fucking path, you're gonna fucking face failure. You have to know that for a fact. So with that said, you need to have a deeper purpose from the beginning. That way, when the failure does come up, because once again, it's inevitable, you're able to push beyond it. No matter what, you're gonna continuously have failure. Like if we were to see like a success graph, it typically looks like this. You know, a lot of people have the idea and the mistake that they think it's literally directly like this, when it's success, failure, success, failure, success, failure, success, failure. So
Exactly.
people
Like
have
a
to
stock going up.
utilize their purpose to go beyond it, you know?
Facts. That's a fact. I was going to ask you, what are some of the most common failures in what you're doing with wholesale real estate that you've encountered, and how do you overcome it?
It's just like sales overall. I mean, primarily what wholesaling is what we do is we find a property, we get it under contract, and then we sell that contract to somebody else. So we actually never even buy the house. Like we never even put money down.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, you're supposed to put like a small down payment depending on what you negotiate. My down payment, they call it EMD, earnest money deposit, it's $100 to like solidify the contract. But then you just go and you assign your position out before closing, and you keep the difference. So nonetheless, the biggest thing in regards to sales and real estate overall is that you're literally, bro, I used to be like on the phone 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, 10 hours a day, cold calling people all day. I was on the dialer, I'd call like 1,500 people consistently. You get all the fuck yous, you piece of shit, get a life, this and that. So you just have to learn how to have tough skin, man, and be able to have a particular goal of what you're looking to get at, and be resilient, because you're going to get lots of fuck yous. You're going to get a lot of people who don't believe in you outside of the sales too. So you have to have that internal push. And one thing I always say is that, especially as a man, and especially as a man getting into business, you have to be able to see beyond your emotions, because it's not the emotions that make the man, it's the way that the man reacts to the emotions that makes the man. So a man must understand how to push beyond his emotions, see them as they are, and not be affected by them, and be able to do the things that he needs to fucking do to attain success. So the primary thing is being able to be consistent. That's number one. And number two, being able to be resilient and have tough skin.
Nice. So
I would say, let me add on to that.
Yeah, go.
Yeah. So I think what's really great about what you said as well is that, like, of course you have to get a control of your emotions, but everybody's learning curve is going to be different. So like if you keep fucking up after a year or 2 years, like you may not be great at it, but you're still getting better. So even doing a little bit every day, or getting like 0.5% better, is still doing better than doing nothing. Because I feel like I wasn't naturally good at certain things, and then I saw my peers being really good at it, And I let that a little discourage me in the beginning, but I'm like, fuck it. If I stop now, I'm only going to be this good.
Yeah.
So I have to keep going to get better. So we got to just keep on that mindset. Like, I got to keep going no matter how long it's going to take me.
Exactly.
And everybody has a different learning curve, and everybody has different strengths and weaknesses. So
Yes.
So I just think that's important as well.
I completely agree with that. And going to improving 1% every single day. How do you improve 1% every single day with wholesale real estate?
Yeah,
Like-
I mean, it goes beyond. This is how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? So it comes down to having a routine. So you need to be able to be 1% better is by having a routine that improves you continuously. Now,
Okay.
you can have that by having a morning ritual, before you actually get to work. And then when you get to fucking work, you have to ask yourself, what are the activities that are going to progress me and my business forward? Okay. And then we got to put it down all the way down to the minute step of what's the next fucking step to do that. And you just do that thing. So I'll give you a quick example. When you're on the dialer or you're cold calling people, it takes X amount of contacts to get X amount of leads. X amount of leads equate to X amount of offers. X amount of offers equate to X amount of contracts. X amount of contracts equates to X amount of money. So if we extrapolate our goals and we want to make a certain amount of $100,000 a month, then we have to go down to making X amount of contacts a day. So we know that with that said, we got to hop on the dialer and do 40, 50 contacts a day. So by having that routine and knowing exactly on a daily basis what we need to do to attain our weekly, monthly, yearly goal, then we can have that form of attack on a continuous basis. But the most important part is having a daily routine, knowing exactly what is going to progress you towards success. And number 3, taking the fucking action and being consistent with it. It's pretty
Nice.
simple at the end of the day.
Well, so now my next question was going to be, how much cold calling are you doing now currently, and how have you improved getting more leads, getting more numbers? Like, I think I saw one of your videos. You mentioned that you started hiring people, I think. Yeah, right? Talk to me a little more about that.
Yeah, man. So I initially started off cold calling myself, and I was, like I said, I was on the dialer. This is probably about maybe 1, 2, 3 months. I used to just sit on the dialer and fucking get cussed out and shit. But what ended up happening was that we were closing money in our company, so we leveraged that money to reinvest and started hiring people out. So right now we have 2 cold callers. We're actually in the process of getting a 3rd one. But I'm actually in the process of transitioning outside of the real estate wholesale space and more into the actual investing and keeping the properties. But nonetheless, I'll still explain to you how it typically works. So all you do is you hire somebody out. You create these, they call them SOPs, standard operating procedures. Essentially what you're doing is you're creating like these videos that teaches your future employees how to do their job.
Nice.
And then you go and you hire these VAs, virtual assistants overseas for like $4, $3. Like their initial start off pay is $3.50 an hour plus commission. So they make $100, $50 for every lead that we end up closing. They get $50 to $100 profit, our commission from that. But it's really simple. Now I buy these different positions for them to cold call in, like because you have to pay for the seats for them to cold call. Nonetheless, I digress.
Yeah.
But it's really simple. You just pretty much hire that out. Now you have a team of people bringing in leads into your company for you by them cold calling. And what I also did too, and now we're getting into the nitty gritty here, but into the weeds, but I have a very specific script for them. So my script is very, very sophisticated. Now with a cold caller, since they have like more of a culture barrier, they're not as good at speaking English. It's literally as simple as them calling, "Hey, Mr. Homeowner, do you want to sell your property? Yes or no?" If they say yes, they send that into our CRM, and then that becomes a lead. And then our team, our in-house team, goes and they take care of that after that.
Nice. So that's great. That you kept it very short, sweet, and simple, man. Like that's as W as it gets. Where did you learn the scripts? Did you create the scripts from scratch, or did you like take it off somebody else, change it up a little bit? Because I think duplicating somebody else's work is like one of the greatest things as an investor, right? You look at what somebody else is doing, how it's succeeding. You essentially take their map and you kind of figure out how you can make it better.
Yeah. I mean, the idea, and this is transmutable across the board, right, is figuring out what's successful and then seeing how you like it. And then, although you don't want to alter what is successful, you can make it a little bit of your own, into your own like tailor-fit thing. Now, what I did was that I joined a bunch of different real estate programs that taught about wholesaling, and I took a bunch of different scripts, utilized all these scripts, tried them myself, see what I felt comfortable with when I'm actually on the dialer, and then overall learn more about communication. They call NLP, neuro-linguistic patterning, which is essentially communicating to people based on the way that I don't know if you know what like the subconscious is and stuff like that. You can essentially do like hypnotic work, and I would place these like different, they call them certain like lines. I forget exactly what
certain
they call
keywords,
them.
essentially?
Language patterns. What were you saying?
I don't know anything about language patterns. That's crazy. That's something new I'm learning right now. That's
Yeah,
crazy advice.
And I can give you some examples after too, but nonetheless, I put some language patterns inside the script, and then now we're off to the races. So, yeah, man, it's just a matter of seeing what works well, taking it onto yourself, trying it out yourself, and then from there altering these different scripts to make it work for yourself.
That's great, man. What do you think on that? You have any questions on that?
No, I mean, I was going to ask him, like, where did you learn all this as well? Like, I mean, I think the biggest thing, when I hired a mentor, when I bought a program as well, it helped me make way more money, way faster.
Mm-hmm.
You make less mistakes, but you're still going to make mistakes, but you just are able to test things that have already been proven to work.
Yeah. So did you have any mentors that helped you actually get to where you're at?
Yeah, bro, all day. I mean, what I can say real quick about that too is that you have to think about it, right? Is that when especially if we're like the first generation people to become wealthy in our family, we don't really have anybody around us that are entrepreneur or business people. Everybody's in the rat race 9 to 5.
Facts.
You have to figure out a way to revolve yourself around people who are already successful in the avenue that you're going down. That way you can basically draft behind them and learn from them and see their patterns and literally just reenact their patterns. So sometimes you can do that by adding value to people, or pay your way in, which I highly recommend anybody to do. Pay your way in to a coach that you align with their core values, because this coach has already gone down the path that you're looking to go down. And not only that, they've already mapped out where the treasure's at. So rather than you having to go into the rainforest and chop down these new paths and you're trying to fucking figure out where the gold's at, the mentor before you has already gone in, done all the work, made a map, and is telling you, come on, come this way. This is how you become successful. So by following these people who are already successful in the avenue that you are, it's adamant that you pay them. That way you can have that value exchange and you can actually learn from them. But I had one of the first coaches that I ever got. Fucking shout out to this guy, man. I actually was just in South Carolina. I was on one of his panels, but his name's Brian Casella. Man, this guy has taught me a lot about not only real estate, but specifically about self-development, mindset, and communication. And what I've learned from this so far, 2, 3, 4 years of being, on my path of major progression, is that communication is like one of the main staples of becoming successful. Because once you learn how to properly communicate with people, not only do you learn how to articulate yourself well and convince people of certain things and persuade them, but also you get to learn how to persuade yourself, because you're able to identify these self-limiting beliefs. You get to train your subconscious more, because I'll say this real quick as well, but 95% of our thoughts derive from our subconscious mind. So if you were to imagine like an iceberg, right? We see the tip of the iceberg, and underneath the water, there's a mass iceberg underneath it. But everybody only sees the very top of it on top of the water. That is our conscious mind, what we actually think in our brain. Yeah. Now, the 95% of our thoughts come from the subconscious mind. So if we have these certain self-limiting beliefs, that means that we're walking around in life with this training in our subconscious mind of negativity. But you can actually, by identifying them through your conscious mind, you can begin to replace these bad thought patterns, and replace them for good. And now your subconscious, remember, 95% of your thoughts are subconscious. Mm-hmm. Now your subconscious is making decisions and thoughts for you that are going to be successful. And success is basically just habits. So once we begin to eradicate these negative thought patterns, these negative thought beliefs, and we replace them with positive self-development ones, then we can, over time, and practicing this, we become successful ourselves, because we're telling ourselves that in our mind. And there's much, much more that I can go into depth about the mind, but the mind is very, very adamant to our success, because it's literally everything that we experience life through.
That is fucking sick, bro. I mean, honestly, it made a lot of. I never knew that about basically our conscious is this small and our subconscious is this big. It makes a lot of sense, because through self-discipline, through consistent work, through doing something that obviously works, you build up a muscle memory, right? I train, like I spar, I fight. So I realized that, it's true. Like in a moment of action, you don't have time to think. You have to react. You have to react through the self-discipline that you put your body through, right? So it's the same thing that you're doing with business, with success, right? You're literally just you're putting all these positive thoughts into yourself. You've built up this curriculum in your subconscious of all the things you should do, and your conscious is trying to filter it and like, okay, apply this, right? Like you're trying to react. 100. So that's 100. That's a big W, bro.
And once you get into the habit of like fighting off those negative thoughts, it's like when it comes, it's like easy. It's like, all right, whatever. Like,
well,
that's whatever.
I think the negative thoughts or like the depression or like whatever, I think that's a great indicator as to, hey, maybe you need to change course a little bit. Maybe you're doing something that's not working, and it's like you're checking yourself essentially, right? And then you got to improve. You got to find a way to change to improve and do something better. I think that's what negative thoughts are. unless they're like, yo,
Yeah.
just stay
But
in bed, eat
it
Cheetos.
could just be fake beliefs though. It could just be things that somebody told you about you that you started to believe that's not true at all. So
Yeah,
you know, that could be
once
some
you
of that as well.
internalize, my bad. Once you internalize that negative thought pattern, that's going to be transmutable across your life. So what we get out of life is what we imagine. So if we imagine ourselves in our subconscious to be a piece of shit or somebody who's unsuccessful, then our results are going to be unsuccess, not non-success. So what you can do is you can see your life and analyze your life in all degrees and see what's consistent across my life. And okay, if I have a bunch of failure everywhere, where is my thoughts coming from? Let me take a break. Let me fucking put all the technology away. Let me go and sit down by myself, meditate through contemplation, and see where my thoughts are taking me. And here's the thing too, is that a lot of people don't understand negative thoughts will always be a part of our life, no matter what. What it is, it's that not identifying with the negative thoughts. So we have to understand that across the universe there's polarity. There's a heads and there's a tails to every coin. So just as we feel positivity, we will also feel negativity. But the key thing here is not necessarily identifying with both and being who we are. And I can just say this real quick too as well. It's the same thing with accolades, right? When people tell you you're the fucking shit, bro, I love your podcast, your show, and you really internalize that and say, you know what? Because he said that I am the shit. Now when somebody goes and talks shit to you and starts hating on you, you feel it to the same degree that you felt that positivity. So that's why when people give you accolades, you know what, I appreciate what you're saying, but no matter what this guy says or whoever the fuck tells me, pats me on the back, I pat myself on the back because I know I'm successful no matter what. I don't need outside validation. I don't need people to tell me, you're doing the best, this and that. I already know it myself. That way, whether it's good or negative, I'm not attached to either result. So it's the same thing with negative thoughts as well. We have to understand we will never eradicate negative beliefs. However, we know that when these negative thoughts come about, we just don't identify with them.
Exactly. I think that when you identify with the negative thoughts and you're able to overcome them, you create that ego that you're talking about, right? That's where you're able to be more confident and you're able to be like, yo, you know what? I know this works. I've been through the shit that don't work, so I can say confidently that I know this works. And you have that belief because you've tested it out. Other people who haven't tested something out and they're just talking about it, you can tell by the way in which they communicate.
Yeah, man, 100%. And I would actually argue and say too that it's actually the opposite of ego, because the ego is fueled by like the arrogance or whatever the fuck you want to say it. Mm-hmm. To me, it's despite what anybody says, I know who I am, no matter what. So with that said, I'm gonna take these different actions that are in alignment with who I am. And it's not. I think people mistake self-belief and self-love as arrogance or egotistical when that's not really the case. That's why a lot of people don't like fucking Kanye West. But Kanye West has been on that self-love journey for a long ass time. But since people are so used to negative talks and them feeling that they're not shit, when they see somebody else who truly believes in themselves, now all of a sudden it's all about fucking ego. But nonetheless, man, yeah, you become more self-aware, and that's why they say entrepreneurship is one of the biggest self-awareness journeys that you'll ever take.
Well, would you say? I mean, yeah, you're kind of. Would you say you're identifying ego with like a negative connotation?
I do for the most part. However, ego can also work to your advantage, right? Exactly. You can also utilize arrogance. Fake it until you make it, where you walk into a room and you know where you're headed, and you can utilize and leverage some ego in that sense. So I don't always think it's bad.
Yeah. Ever. Well, maybe arrogance would be, I guess, where it can lead to negative results, because arrogance is kind of just like a self-belief, like a deserving feeling, right? Like a spoiled child, right? Like when I hear like self-love, like things, I kind of think like selfish, because I be watching a lot of Fresh and Fit, and I actually saw your conversation about like modern women and things like that, and I've been looking so much on Instagram, and I'd be like looking at a bunch of girls like stories, and it's all like, oh, self-love, self-care, but I'm like, all right, you want a boyfriend, you want a guy. What are you learning anything about him, or are you just completely selfish with yourself and the things that you want, right? So that's why like ego, I think for men it's like good, like through trauma, through suffering, through challenges. This is how you build up a good sense of ego. There are times where it can be overinflated, and that's where you have to check yourself. You got to humble yourself a little bit. You got to start listening, right? You can't be the best all the time, because then there's no room for growth. And then why are you even alive for that point?
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say that it's a thin line, right? I mean, once you become to get too egotistical, then that can not work to your advantage. Like, I'll give you a quick example. When I lead people and I have employees that I work with, if I'm not a good leader and I lead by ego, then it's going to lead to failure, because it's about fueling my ego at the end of the day rather than attaining results. So a lot of the times I have to be able to take critical feedback from my team, because I understand that I'm not always going to be the best leader in certain ways, and sometimes I have blind spots. So I have to be open to that critical feedback. And if I was too egotistical, I wouldn't be able to take that critical feedback, and I get pissed off and fire somebody when really they had an honest viewpoint. And that's what I always say too. At the end of the day, when it comes down to speaking about these different topics, what it really boils down to is the truth, no matter what. I don't give a fuck what side truth lays on. I don't care about, who says this, who says that. Truth is truth at the end of the day. And by having our conversations, we get down to the truth. And that's the same type of way I take about it in regards to the ego.
Yeah. Well, with the whole point that you made about the ego, for sure, I think that if you replace the word ego maybe with arrogance, because I think ego is like very general. I think arrogance is the exact point that you're trying to make. So arrogance is what's going to limit you, right? Because you said you're a leader, you go to your team. If you speak from a place of arrogance, right? I'm deserving, I'm selfish, like you should just listen to me because I'm your boss or I'm paying you, whatever. Like, then they're not going to want to listen to you. But if you're like, yo, listen, this is the proven result that I know absolutely works. You go in with that mentality, right? You explain it to them. You're able to communicate it to them. That's like a good ego because, like I said, like you built that through failure. So you're trying to communicate that experience that you've had so that you can all perform optimally, right? Because if you're making money, they're going to get paid.
Yeah, man, 100%.